Hey guys, Jay here. And these are the Vanatoo Transparent Encore Plus speakers for about $700. They've been getting pretty rave reviews from users online. And actually how I've personally found out about these guys is through a fellow YouTuber called ABX Audiophile. Those guys are crazy. I met them at Expona. And one of them actually loved these speakers so much that they rewired the entire speaker with pure silver cables. That's how much they love them. They also happen to measure very well. So if you go over to Aaron's Audio Corner, he did a full measurement review on these speakers. So go check that out if you're interested in the measured data. But already, it's pretty easy to see how so many people love these speakers. For $700, you're getting a very well-built cabinet, small, compact, but we'll talk about how that is kind of defying in terms of the sound quality in just a minute. But overall, you're getting a very nice real wood cherry veneer on this speaker as well for the finish, so that's a pretty good start. You also get a Class D amplifier that powers this 5¼ aluminum cone woofers and 20-watt Class D amplifier that powers the 1-inch aluminum dome tweeter. And of course, on the back, you get the secret sauce, the 5¼ passive radiator on these loudspeakers. And remember me just saying that the size is deceiving of the sound quality that you get? Well, one of that is definitely the bass. The bass on these speakers is going to be very extended for its size due to the passive radiator that I showed you in the back, but also along with that DSP control. And talking just really bluntly here, I was really on the fence about these speakers and getting these speakers for review because I'm not really a fan of active or power speakers to begin with, and I'm just not a fan of aluminum dome tweeters in general. So I was pretty much, on the fence about these speakers, and the only reason I got them in was because of all the great reviews online. And also, I really trusted the tone controls here on the back that you can adjust the bass and treble. So I thought, well, if I really find them too spicy or in metallic in any way, maybe I can use those tone controls to kind of help it out and get the sound I want. And you know what? Not only did I actually warm up to these speakers over time, but they remain as my main speakers on my desk for some time now. So yeah, I like them quite a bit. And no, I did not have to use the tone controls all that much at all. If anything, I maybe gave it a little bit of a boost in that bass region and took the treble down by a slight bit. But that's about it. I really like these speakers for what they do. And what these guys do really well is that it's not just good for music, it's great for music, but on the desktop, you do other things as well. And this speaker is great at multitasking. It's great for movies, it's great for gaming, and it's great for listening to music, of course. And again, it's easy to see why so many people love it because they're very versatile speakers in that way. And I think one of the main reasons people are very mesmerized by this speaker right off the bat is due to its very dynamic, punchy, clean bass presentation, whether it's on a desktop setup or a replacement for a soundbar in an entertainment room. So if you thought the bass performance was going to be weak on a small speaker like this, that is the shocking factor, is that it is not. On this speaker, it does not sound small. It doesn't sound like a small speaker. It's kind of unimaginable, unbelievable to some people that probably haven't heard that kind of bass before in a small speaker. But this is one of those speakers that has that dynamic, clean bass output and extends low for its size, that just gives you that immediate wow factor. But it's not all perfect. It is DSP controlled, so you're gonna run into compression if you crank these up too loud to fill a big room. Obviously not their intended usage, but that's to protect the woofer. And so the bass output is going to drop if you crank them up too loud. Now, I really wouldn't be worrying about this at all, but if you are the worried type, I can tell you right now, I crank up my music loud once in a while, quite often, to be honest. And I did not run into compression with these speakers one time in the time I had it. And like I said, I had them for a long time. But if you are in a large room or you are the type to really crank up music really loud and you do want that extended bass, then you may want to add a subwoofer, and you can do that fairly easily because this does have the sub out on the back. I personally use the SVS micro sub, and what happens when you add a subwoofer to a speaker like this is that not only do you get extended bass, but because you're taking the load off of the speakers itself can, go louder without running into that compression with the bass. So that is something you can do if you need to crank these up louder and if you want more heft and a bass extension out of these speakers. You can, with a subwoofer, get a full range sound with these speakers, which is pretty crazy. And if you eventually decide to add a subwoofer with these speakers, I think you're in for a very good time. And in terms of the mid-range is going to be very much like studio reference kind of neutrality with a little bit of that upper spice in the upper mid-range. So especially with guitars and when you're scraping the guitar in a track, you're gonna hear a little bit more of that zing, which honestly can be annoying to some people like me that, likes a warm, inviting type of sound. But because I use these on a desktop, I could easily EQ that zing away. And I did that. But I ended up really quickly going back to the default sound signature of these speakers because I realized very, very soon that that zing is actually what gives these speakers that special sauce, a special nature about these speakers that is so versatile with multiple different entertainment. So it's not just music, but when you listen to the dialogue in a movie, that extra bit of zing is what makes the articulation in a dialogue, in a podcast, or in a movie come across so crystal clear and transparent. And I guess that's probably the reason for the name of these speakers. Now, with that being said, I wouldn't turn these on and put some metal on at full volume and rock out. Not a chance. That's not happening. But that's a fair trade I'm willing to make for the versatility of these speakers on a desktop setup. Now, the next thing that I look for, especially when used on a desktop or near field environment, is a soundstage. I hate speakers that's used for near field that is too intimate. And that's pertaining to the fact that you already are very close to the speakers and you have this narrow, too intimate of a sound. I just don't like that. I like to have a speaker that's near field to have a little bit of a wider soundstage and deeper soundstage presentation. So it sounds more open and spacious so that it doesn't feel like I'm, might as well use a headphone. These speakers, I will say, has adequate soundstage. It's not like the biggest soundstage I've heard in a speaker, in a desktop application or near field, but it is around the middle point. Like it's literally in the middle point. It's not too big or too narrow. And because of that little upper mid-range emphasis and presence that I talked about with these speakers, they do present itself to be a little bit more spacious sounding compared to the speakers that I've had before as a studio monitor, for example, like the Genelec, Neumann, or even the Atom Audio. But what did impress me with these speakers is the phase coherent imaging capability, where it's able to place vocals and instruments within the soundstage very accurately where it should be. And it does this with such impeccable clarity that it comes across as a very accurate pinpoint imagery. And I believe this also adds to that enjoyment when watching movies because the sound effects of a car going by or something like that sounds very great. Like the effects are amazing when I watch movies with these speakers. Like I can almost taste that car. But as much as I love these speakers, there are definitely things in the time I had it where it was a pet peeve of mine or something that I wish was a little bit different with these speakers. So let's go over some of those. So firstly, and this is a want from me, I do wish that it had an HDMI eARC on the speaker. I think for the application, it's perfect to connect to your monitor or your TV, your smart TV, and use it in an entertainment setup. I think it's missing that HDMI eARC on the back. But the back is already very crowded. And the second thing is the lack of indication. And this one was almost a deal breaker for me, I have to be honest. It does come with a very nice remote. Very functional, has all the options that you can access, that you can do on the back with this remote. Great. Fantastic. But when I adjust the volume with this remote, the only indication I get is the little orange LED blinking. And when I go to adjust the tone controls on the back with this remote, orange light blinking. So not having any indication of what the heck is going on, all I see is a orange light blinking. I don't know how much bass I just adjusted or how much treble I just adjusted, or heck, I don't even know how much volume I just adjusted. I go to the back of the speakers to see the dials and see how much it moved. And to my surprise, it didn't move at all. But unless I'm absolutely hallucinating, I swear I just did the tone control and I changed the volume and it changed. The volume changed, the bass level changed, I can hear it, but it doesn't correspond. That's what I'm trying to say. The back panel here has its own mind and control, and the remote has its own mind and control. So when you're adjusting with the remote and then you go back and then you start messing with the dial, now the dial's in control and then it kicks back in to the volume setting the dial is on. So this this is a bit of an annoying thing. Now, I opted to just reuse the remote and trust my ears, but for a lot of the audiophiles out there, they're gonna be like, oh my God, how much bass did I just adjust? And actually, the dials don't give a very good indication of that at all because there's no clicks, there's no like marks to tell you how much you've just adjusted at all. So yeah, in the time I had with these were the only annoyances that I personally found. And if you're asking me, I personally think the pros heavily outweigh the cons here by a large margin because the sound quality you get here for $700, the transparency, the clarity, the bass extension and punchiness and dynamics that you would get from a speaker like this for $700, you have to spend a lot of money to get that, in a passive speaker, in a passive setup. So I think you get a very good compact speaker here for the money. Too good of a deal to pass up on based on small annoyances like this. And I know I can be pretty anal. I know who I am. But if I can live with those annoyances, I think a lot of people can too. But ultimately, it's going to have to be you that decide. I mean, if you're more anal than me, I think you need help. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I hope this video was helpful and informative. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. I'll try to answer each one. All I ask is that you like and subscribe on this video, and I'll see you guys on my next one. Until next time.